Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well today, morning, afternoon, noon, whatever time of the day it might be in your part of the world. Hello. DMGeezerjim here, back on my classic module review series for YouTube. We are taking a crack at one of the classics, as I am, that's the series, right? An unofficial module in the S series, S1 through S4 being the classic seminal super hard modules, Tomb of Horrors, White Plume Mountain, Expedition to Barrier Peaks, and I believe Lost Caverns of Soth Kanth would be the fourth in that series. So there is one that's unofficially called S5. I think it belongs in the series. I guess it was released too late in the publication time to get officially alphanumericized. But we are talking about the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga, yes, that Baba Yaga. Mother of Igwilv, Queen of Hags, all kinds of other stuff. Crazy thing, a very important figure in folklore. Even D&D people, or non-Dungeons and Dragons people, are probably aware of at least the name, the idea, the myth of Baba Yaga. So what are we looking at in front of us? We have a module publication called The Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga that was published in 1995 when it was still TSR, right around the changeover to Wizard's Butt. Published for second edition. 95, we were starting to believe, getting into... No, that was the tail end of the second, start of the third edition type of a stuff. But it did fall in the latter stages of the TSR publication run prior to the third edition release, and it is a very high level module. More than that, it says it's structured for characters levels 7 through 20. We can see that right here. That's a misnomer. There are sections of the hut that are designed for level 7 to 10 groups, section of the hut designed for 15 to 18, and then the top section where you're facing off with Baba Yaga and all of that craziness is for level 20. So it does stretch through a series of levels. First and foremost, there's not enough content here to level your group from 7 to 20. A lot of times when we're looking at stuff from 5th edition terminologies and standpoints, we're familiar with the level, the adventure module, the book that you're using, the campaign book is going to tell you designed for take characters from level 1 to 15. If you're looking at this, that might give you the same impression. That's not the case. There's 3 separate sections to the Dancing Hut. They're appropriate for different character levels. If you want to use this for a campaign long term, the party will revisit it a couple times. There's really, unless you do a lot of homebrewing, which you're going to have to do a lot of adjustments for this. Let me put that out on the front side as well. So obviously your mileage is going to vary depending on how much you're able and willing to modify to fit your group's need. So as far as game playability goes, this is not a book that you can run as written. First, before I get too far in, guys, if you're catching the stream, first and foremost, thank you. Feel free to leave questions and comments down in that bottom little section. If you have any questions, let me know. I check the comments regularly. I'd love to answer any specifics. I mean, there's a lot of content in these modules that I can't necessarily cover during a stream without turning it into a 4-hour long-term podcast. But I'm more than happy if you have any questions about any of the particular sections that I talk about, or if you want to know anything specific about it, drop a question in the comments. I'll get back to you. Give me my word on that. So anyway, Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. First and foremost, the first couple sections are dealing with her quest, aka her why. A lot of times, if you're a fan of my series, you'll notice a lot of the older modules don't necessarily have a why. Why is the party here? And this one it's not as hard with the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. If it's there, your party's going to want to be there. So the why is, kind of does need to be considered. Why does my party want to do this adventure? Because it's the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. That's going to be enough to get you in the door. So don't necessarily stress out the fact that it's a campaign length adventure in the extent that it's going to take several trips to it to finish it, but it's not a campaign defining adventure. What I mean by that is it's designed to fit into any world that you're going to go into. Whether you're playing Forgotten Realms, whether you're playing Greyhawk, whether you're playing Chuck's Homebrew, whether you're playing the Exander, it doesn't matter what you're playing. you can use the dancing hut within it. The presentation of Baba Yaga and the presentation of the dancing hut are very accurate to Eastern European folklore. That's the take that we're giving here. I'm not here to argue canon. I'm not here to say this is the way it is because this is the way. I'm here to say this is the information that the book provides you at this point in time. Okay, the framing of Baba Yaga as technically, according to this book, Baba Yaga is coming in from Earth, from modern day Earth, from Russian folklore, Eastern European folklore, as Baba Yaga, manifested as a Dungeons and Dragons antagonist. The idea behind her hut being able to walk around and move through space and time is likewise carried over. This is kind of what you're looking at right now on the screen is the areas of the hut, the exterior of a hut. This is the only geography that is going to impact your game world, the exterior of a hut. You can place it in Mirkwood, you can place it in the Dreadwoods, you could place it in the Highwoods, you could place it in your own forest. All you need is a clearing in a forest. You can drop her hut and the skull fence around, and Baba Yaga is in your campaign. The module was well written in regards to that. Now, before we get into the specifics of the dancing hut on I'm not going to go room by room, but a few nice examples of the encounters and how the system's going to work. The next thing we really need to kind of dig into from a 5th edition presentation, I want to play this with my group standpoint, is the understanding of what's going on here. Baba Yaga is on a quest to beat death. Okay, that's basically what the scoop is here. Baba Yaga has come up with something called the Death Trap, which is based on Zagieg's God Trap from Greyhawk lore. Different series. You feel free to Google it. You'll understand what I'm talking about. She's devised this magical device that can entrap aspects of death, hopefully to bait death itself into her hut so she can then bargain with it to make sure that she never feels the effects of death. She's captured several minor deaths, the minor deaths being the ones that are represented by the Deck of Many Things. The stat blocks for the 2nd edition are transitory of the Deck of Many Things. There's a couple adventure hooks and plot lines that will tie in if your party is carrying around a Deck of Many Things, has the death card. Not necessarily that it draws them in, but when they play the death card and the death doesn't appear, because Baba Yaga has them trapped in the dancing hut. So that's one way for a story tie-in. The big tie-in, obviously, is her trapping death. And at a certain point in the campaign, in the adventure, her progress along that line has the potential to affect your campaign. As in, once death has been captured, nothing dies. There's a lot of information given, not a lot, a couple paragraphs of information given to you as a dungeon master to understand this is what's going to happen when she captures death. This is how it's going to affect the world around them. And so that can be a clue and a key off to involve the party back into the dancing hut itself if they didn't have enough of a reason for it just to be there. So there is an overarching plot. There is an overarching story that's going on that your party's ultimately going to get involved in and be responsible for solving. It's not just exploring the dancing hut of Baba Yaga. It can be, and again, feel free to completely discard the plot if it affects your world poorly. The module is well written enough to support a playthrough just as is without needing the big mechanisms. But if you do need those, they're there for you. So the next couple sections of the module are going to talk about the changing appearance of the hut, the interior layout of the hut, that the hut can rearrange itself. It's actually its own extra-dimensional space compounded upon itself. And the resistances of the hut at this point in the adventure, the hut itself is I don't want to necessarily say a non-player character, but has a lot of resistances, has a lot of abilities, even to the point where it can absorb certain spells and cast them back at the party in defense of itself. Magic resistances, magic immunities, and spell stealings are definitely going to vary based on edition. A lot of the spells that are listed here don't exist in 5th edition, if that's what you're using. There's a lot that do, and there's a couple that are pretty much parallel to it. Like The materials within the hut are impervious to age object, dispel magic, enchant item, enlarge, reduce, limited wish, meld into stone, pass wall, phase door, soften, spike stone, stone shape, stone to flesh, transmute metal, wood, turn wood, and wish. The hut itself is immune to wish. And any psionic powers that disintegrate, molecular agitation, and rearrangement stuff. Unaffected by any specific magic items that can bring those spell effects into as well. Party cannot affect the hut itself in any way, shape, or form outside of what Baba Yaga wants to happen. So, as a dungeon master, you're given license and fiat right off the bat. The hut is an enemy. Not necessarily an antagonistic enemy, but certainly something your party just can't go cast Disintegrate at a wall and think something is going to happen. Okay? Magic inside the hut is also affected. There's a large list of teleportations, blinks, anything that passes trans-dimensionally, planar contact spells, anything that can either summon from or push to does not work in some cases not at all within the spells. Again, here's a big, huge, long list of spells that are poorly affected or just will not work within the hut themselves. Whatever the target of the spell is, just doesn't fire off. And then there's dimensional disasters that will happen in response to some of the prohibited spells being cast. Some fun little stuff that happens. You know, a user's arm can be permanently stuck in another dimension. If a magic item is triggering the reaction, the item collapses into a two-dimensional object. Has width and breadth but no depth and can no longer be used within this dimension. Some fun stuff that are some interesting little tools that are given to you as a dungeon master to reinforce the concept that magic isn't working right here. Another thing to keep in mind is every one of the rooms within the hut will have scrying devices. Basically, Baba Yaga will be aware of anything that the party's doing in the hut, saying, touching, whatever, at any point in time, unless they can prevent the actual scrying. Pure darkness would help. Silence would help. Proof against detection location would protect whoever's wearing that from being scryed upon. The majority of the time, the relays are there. The party will probably figure out pretty quickly that they are being watched at all times. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that you have to run this intelligently. If the party is doing too much, Baba Yaga can exert her influence to slow the party down, deter them, whatever. Keep kind of that in mind. So there's a couple things that are, quick starts for the party if you need them. And the plus side is there's a couple of them. Now, real quick before I go too far, there's one hook quest line that deals with this gnome illusionist, magic user, wizard in 5th edition parlance. He goes by the name of Questrix, and he is doing something within the hut trying to discover some sort of secret in there. The waters of wonder, the black flowers of transformation, a couple different things. Questrix is, in fact, present in the hut in different parts. Does have an impact on the party's progress. If you want to tie him in at a greater level, you need to make sure that you, as a dungeon master, have laid out made mention of Questrix prior to this point, if you want him to be important. If you want them to be important, I should say. If not, it's okay. It's the presentation of Questrix within the adventure is easy enough to hand wave off as it happens. If you need a bigger reason for the adventure to go along, you have Questrix. You can have a young girl whose twin sister has been abducted traded with, sacrificed to? A couple different words. Sold in servitude to Baba Yaga for 2 years, and her little sister wants the party to take her other sister a doll, nice and innocent and simple to start with. Or some farmer comes running in saying, I know y'all gonna say I'm drunk, but man, there's this big old hut on a set of chicken legs that just went running through the woods and kicked over a bunch of trees and made a clearing and sat itself down, and a fence, a bunch of skulls made out of a bunch of spines and skulls just popped up out of it. I swear on my life, it's sitting out in the woods, not too far from here. Dude, that's going to be a quick enough hook right there. So, again, the information is given, not necessary. The hut on itself exists as an entertaining enough presence. So, when you get into the hut proper, it is not a dungeon in its traditional sense. It is a trans-dimensionally folded space. each of the areas, oops, let me scroll back down to here, my apologies. Each of the areas shown on this diagram connect to the areas that are shown on their facing. I know it's looking like triangles. It kind of is to an extent. Area A only leads to Area C. Area C can lead to B and D and back to A. D can lead to C, H, and that's it, etc., etc. Okay, you'll notice the smaller ones, F1, F2, F3, F4. These are actually their own quadrants within. So if your party goes from B to F, they're actually in F1. If they do the appropriate Knox pass phases, etc., they will be able to go from F into F1, F2, F3, F4. It's once you take a look at when you're first looking at the diagram of the hut, it doesn't make a ton of sense because of the transpositioning of the smaller quadrants on the larger quadrants, but it makes sense when it gets into gameplay. I promise you that. So from there, let's go ahead and talk about this. To move within the hut on its own level, aka the level 1, all the party has to do is pass through doors. Some doors are tricks, some doors have locks, some doors, but there's, by and large, it's just open door, go to next area. Now to go from B to F1 through F4, and what I'm saying is to go the B and E border, B, E, and G border the F quadrant, right? B, E, and G. So there's a secret series of knocks that your party will have to figure out. For example, when they get to the door from B to F proper, if they just open the door, they go to F. If they knock 3 knocks followed by 5 knocks followed by 4 knocks, then they go to F1. They go to a different dimension within itself. So there's a different combination of knocks that are required for your party. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Your party will have to figure out the different knocks to transcend from the base level into the second level of the Tesseract. Remember, this is all dimensionally folded space. Most of these rooms don't work within the space of the hut. The hut is 15 foot by 15 foot on the exterior. When your party walks in, it's 20 foot by 20 foot on its interior. Right off the bat, the ideas of space within, just they got to go out the window. You're in dimensional space, pocket dimension, quasi-plane, if you want to call it that. Whatever term your edition is going to saddle you with, that's what you're dealing with. Different series of knocks for entries from each of the points into the upper tiers. And to go into the top tier is a different thing. So to go within the G3, A through C, you get asked riddles. So not only is it a puzzle for figuring out a series of knocks, knock, knock, who's there, it's a series of secret knocks. It's also a series of puzzles and passwords to get from one point to another. Okay, so even though based on this diagram, transitions between the areas within the hut is relatively simple, it is not simple. On a lower, in the most basic sense, you open a door, you go to the next area. You go from the door to go to the next area. Eventually, the party will find out that there's more to it than that. The proper door with the proper knock sequence will lead them into a locked area that they have access to then. From there, a proper answer for the password after the clue gets them access to the third level. So, kind of keep that in mind as we go from there. So let's get into the meat of it. The Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga is comprised of 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 33, rooms, okay? 33 distinct encounter areas. Now, every one of these encounter areas is its own encounter. That's one of the easier things to manage this dungeon. The plus side is there's only a handful of things that can go from room to room within the dungeon. I use that term sparingly. So you don't have to worry about the train effect, the party running room to room to room and getting 11 monsters chasing them off. So that's one of the plus sides is obviously a lot of stuff to make notes of and memorize in regards to the effects of magic. Definitely going to be preparation heavy for a dungeon master. to get your mind and brain around everything that they can and cannot. And here's the other thing. You don't want to tell your party that this stuff doesn't work. You don't want to give them the opportunity to fine tune. They're going in this thinking what they think. So that's part of the challenge for being a mid to high level party, is adjusting when things don't necessarily go your way. If you got all of these spells loaded that don't work, that's really going to suck. Hopefully you get a long rest to change out your spells, right? That's part of the challenge with the dungeon, okay? You have to be familiar with that. You've already need to kind of establish if you're using the Baba Yaga captures death theme with it or not, and if that's going to have an impact on the outside world, or if that's just something that's going on that doesn't impact your players. It's happening anyway. The impact on your party is up to you. If it's just something that's happening in the strangeness of her hut that has no impact on the world around you, great. If it's something that you want to include and add a lot of strangeness and add a weird effect that no one is dying anymore, almost like the opposite of Tomb of Annihilation, where if you've ever been resurrected, you suddenly fall dead and you can't come back from the dead anymore. This is the other way. You're walking around, your boys are walking around carrying their friend in a wheelbarrow because he got chopped to itty bitty bits, but he can't die. Okay, so that's a completely different spin on things that you can add to it. So going from there, let's just kind of take a look at a couple of the example rooms. Number one, to talk about some of the strangeness that's involved in the encounters. And more importantly, let me get back to a map on one of these, sorry. No, you know what? We can keep a couple of them up. That way we can see how they connect. So let me do that right quick. Give me a second to switch some viewing around. Apologies. Showing off my amateur nature right here. And I want you on the left. And we're going to go to single page view here. And we're good. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is so we can see where area A leads versus area C and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of, like I said, I don't want to take, I would love to take the time to go through every one of these encounters within here and talk about how to tune them for 5th edition, how to approach them for that. And honestly, if I get some comments back to say, ooh, I want more information, I may very well do an encounter by counter breakdown. But it's very lengthy right now. I'm just trying to give you a preview of the module, quick review of it, and how well does it work in 5th edition. It's going to be, so we've established that the party has entered the hut. The entry to the hut is area A. They've made their way past the fence. They figured out how to get within the hut. There's a couple issues with getting inside. First, if your party can figure out how Baba Yaga is getting in and out and learn the proper passphrase, hey, my strong locks, unlock yourself. Hey, my sturdy door, let me in. It must be spoken in Baba Yaga's native language, which resembles real-world Russian. So, comprehend languages to hear it, concealing themselves from Baba Yaga. If the hut's up on its legs, the pass-up won't work, etc. There's a couple different things. I don't want to go into too much detail about it. But the party has to gain entry after they fought through their way through the fence, right? Fun. Craziness. From there, ooh, the cloud kill spell, I forgot about that. If you attack the hut, it explodes into a cloud of chicken feathers that has the effect of cloud kill. Wow, that's spooky. So once you get in the hut, you're described. Another thing here, there is no descriptive box text within the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga publication. You will need to be prepared on your own as Dungeon Master to read and probably, I suggest writing. You may or may not. That's up to you as an individual. But I definitely take the time to give myself a couple notes on something that I don't have already committed to memory. If I haven't run the module a dozen times, not a dozen, 3 or 4 times, then I don't trust myself to remember it. So I make sure to take notes. So yeah, this is a room that you need to be able to describe to your party. This is their revival area. No descriptive box text. Be ready to paraphrase, set up a lot of stuff. You've got to be aware of your text as you're reading it, because sometimes the key to the room, you'll give them as you're describing the room on accident. Box text is important. If it doesn't exist, make it yourself. So long story short, they come into this room. They find a secret door, kind of a secret doors located under the brazier to the corner, which is not represented on the map. A rusted ladder leads down, and a flat ladder leads up to the attic. When they make their way down the rusty ladder, they come into, looks like a cellar. So all intent and purpose, other than the inside being slightly larger than the outside. The first room of the dancing hut is just looks like a raggedy old nasty ass bedroom, an abandoned hunting cabin in the woods is what it looks like. They find their way down to the cellar. They'll find a trapdoor that leads to Area C. Area 1 only leads to C. Now here's where we start getting into a perfect example of the strangeness and the trickery that's part of the dancing hut. When they find it, it's not going to be hard to find. There's a big, huge steel plate on the ground, 10 foot thick, or 10 foot by 10 foot steel plate. Party moves it. Heavy metal plate into the floor is hot to the touch. If it's dragged away, the PCs find an apparently bottomless shaft leading into a flame-filled inferno. Faint, ghostly screams can be heard echoing up from below. That's how they enter a party. You know, how you present that's going to, you know, kind of set the tone for the group. If you kind of do it kind of mundane, it's not a big deal. Your party figures out it's an illusion. A lot of the other mystery in the dungeon can be dealt with the same. This is setting the pace and the tone. Give them 1d6 burning damage as they're pulling off the platter, or the plate off the floor. It's perfectly fine. And then 3 2-foot wide balls of flame energy pop up in the air as if they're watching the party. These are will-o-wisps. Your party's facing 3 will-o-wisps right out the front door. If they can make their way searching around inside the room, there are a few things here. Baba Yaga has placed a small pouch of cold coins and a ring of jumping here. If the party disturbs them, the will-o-wisps will attack the party. If they are reduced to close to death, they'll disappear back into the pit. Now, in addition to that, there's a bunch of rats that are running around in this room. They are important later. Each one has a glassy eye. These are what the Baba Yaga is using for scrying. The rats live here. Ironically, certain animals are allowed to move through the hut unimpeded. Yeah, we'll figure that out later. So your party goes down this misty hole. It goes from being a inferno to this swampy, ooky, misty, weird, goopy thing, and leads them to room C. Okay, room C is going to, let me go over this one, is the kitchen. So when your party drops down, they're dropping into this room with the meat hooks, okay? Meat hooks being, it's magically cool storage room. They're dropping into the storage room. When they enter, they'll see pieces of meat hanging on the hooks, and they'll also see illusions of themselves hanging dead upon the hooks. Kind of put the whole, so if you're a good storyteller, DM, if you really kind of emphasize the whole thing, maybe the trip down the shaft filled with flame and light is really emphasized so much that the party genuinely wonders if they're dead and in hell. It's just the briefest moment of time. The moment they touch the carcass, the illusion goes away. But it's that kind of a theme. Again, like I said, there's 37 rooms. All of them are very, very intricate. Wow. Most of them are pretty intricate puzzle type things. All of them have something strange and unique to them. Some are just plain silly. Some are just mean. Some are downright gross. And let's talk about one of the gross ones right now. Area C, kitchen. We've already dropped in here, and we'll talk about this. This is the second room the party goes into. When they enter the main room, there's a secret door on the wall of the cold room where the party follows it. If they follow it, they'll start crawling through a small crawl space. Eventually, they find themselves going from crawling to falling. Somewhere along the line, it tips, and they either fall all the way back down, or they grab the wall and climb their way back to A. It's have fun with that kind of a thing. It's not when they're on the ground level until it hits a certain point. They're crawling, and then they're starting to fall again. Have fun doing some fall damage, having your party kind of adjust really quickly, thinking with your thoughts, do something. It's, that on of itself is just a minor thing, but it's something that you as a dungeon master can have a lot of fun with. It's a simple trick. When they get into the main room, the stove room, there's a large stove in the shape of a dragon filled with dragon's breath. Basically, she has the red dragon's breath harnessed to do all of her cooking. There's a door that goes to room B here. There's a dumbwaiter that goes up to D, and there's another door on the wall that leads to a trap, okay? The door to B is your ideal choice, but who's going to want to go through a burning oven full of dragon's breath? Well, there happens to be a few human-sized, very large, oversized cooking trays laying around in the room, and if the party will put themselves in a cooking tray and push themselves through the oven, They have enough time to get to the door and get through before they take fire damage. If they don't, they take 6d10 plus 3 fire damage every round that they're opening up the oven. Yeah, they're going to get melted quickly. That's 9 to 63 damage, landing on an average of 31 damage per round. A lot of damage is going to happen if they get stuck in the oven without a boiling pan. Just as a reminder that this is an S-series module, that almost every room is going to have something potentially fatal. So it definitely has earned, it's not an S-series, it should be. But it definitely earns its place in that argument. So room number 3, the open the door. This is kind of gross, interesting to describe, difficult to manage. The door opens up. The door in the kitchen is dimensionally folded to give it access to the intestines of the first person who opened it. So if your fighter opens the door, everyone's looking into this gray brick that fades into this red, fleshy, round corridor, a twisting hallway with walls of a soft red material, and a floor that's knee-deep in putrid sludge. The sludge eats through organic substances such as flesh and leather, causing 2d6 per round of immersion acid damage. The intestines lead gradually upwards, winding upwards from the door for 200 feet. It eventually reaches the stomach, a cavern filled with a lake of digested juices, and odds are at that point someone's dead, let's be honest. Okay. Number 1, any damage done to the walls, a fireball cast in the corridor would explode inside the character. There are warnings as soon as any object or character touches the corridor. The affected character must save versus poison or suffer mild stomach cramps. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. If the first person that opened the door is also the first person that goes through the door, they feel an invisible barrier, like they can't pass. If they're the second, they're fine. If someone goes through in front of them, they're fine. If they try to open the door and go through, at this point in 1E, they called it a bend bar lift gates. We'll call it athletic strength, whichever one you want to use. If the character succeeds, the character is dimensionally folded, turned inside out, and suffers a messy, messy death. They're calling it death magic at a -4 penalty. I would call it a DC 20 Constitution save. DC 15 if you're feeling generous. DC higher if the dude's tougher. A high Constitution save to not have this happen. Failure results in a messy death, and the character still suffers 10d6 hit points of damage if they succeeded. If they fail, they die. If they succeed, they take 10d6 damage. Then the door swings shut, and anyone that's within the corridor is transported back into the kitchen. The next person that opens the door begins the sequence again. So that's something that, a perfect example of, you need to have read the encounter, understand the encounter a couple times before you actually administer the encounter. And that stands to reason for all of the rooms. Every single one of these rooms is going to have something strange going on into it. We went from A to B, the imprisoned Cyclops. This pool is magical. Your party's not going to know. They have marks on the floor that will tell them the secret knocks to access areas F1 through F4. So if they get to door F right here off of B and they use the scratches, they get in. You don't want to tell them they're there right off. Your party's got to figure that kind of stuff out. You definitely want to give them the information on the what's there when they see it, but it shouldn't be really obvious what it is. Now, there's references to Questrix when they deal with the giant Cyclops here. It can turn into a combat action. It can turn into a negotiation action. RP skills are up to the party here. They don't necessarily have to fight. The Cyclops is basically in a completely darkened room in a panic. So if they can figure out how to deal with that, they might not necessarily have to fight the enemy. So on and so forth with this room. We could keep going. The guest rooms, you have secret pit traps in the middle. If your party goes through the main door of their guest room, they get transported into one of these pit traps. If they go through the secret door, they're fine. The doors here lead to K and F. Two of the doors, one leads to the Grey Waste, a.k.a. Hades. The other one leads to Bator, a.k.a. the Nine Hells. Door portals that open straight up to the lower planes. Yeah, that's fun, right? Your party may want to go through that. Be ready for those. Again, understanding, do you want your party to go to the Grey Waste or Bator? Is there a reason for them to go? No, there's not a reason for the adventure's sake, but there is just more the representation that Baba Yaga has this kind of power and this kind of mobility, I guess is a good way to say. Not no, but as in she's very mobile. She can go wherever she needs to go. The conservatory is full of all kinds of funky little plants and giant ants and all kinds of stuff like that. Let me find another fun one. Jazzy Baba's playroom. She's got a gigantic drow cat that is her friend. The observatory is fun. The observatory is a lot of fun. Here, let me get up over. My apologies. I'm going to scroll down to where we just have the map that we need. So area H. Area H is itself. Okay. Area F is a conservatory. It's its own room. If your party passed from, we'll say area E here, on the left here, to area F through this door, they would pass into the conservatory unless they used from D, I'm sorry, I threw myself off there. From E, if they use the knocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, then they don't go to F, they go to F1. They go to the second level of the dungeon. And that's repeated in multiple areas. It's important for you as a dungeon master, make sure you've got these passwords and secret knocks down. Your party can walk their way through this hut dozens of times, forever lost if they can't figure out the sequence of knocks. Make sure you're giving them the opportunity to learn said knocks and systems to get their way around, move their way through the dungeon. For example, the observatory, the doorway to G and the doorway to D are completely hidden. Your party doesn't even realize that the portal to go to room G is the globe that they're sitting on. The globe is a representation of whatever world you're using. If you're using Oerth or Auric for Greyhawk, the globe is there. If you're using Toril for Forgotten Realms, the globe is there. Whatever, that's sitting there. The observatory is interesting. This is another one that's a challenge for you as a dungeon master to do it right without either A, making it completely unfair and unwinnable, or B, making it completely trivial. If your party's smart, your party's smart. That's it is what it is. But the issue here, the observatory is literally open. It's a place that opens up into the outer space. At the center of the room, up on this raised dais with this nice dome above it, is a chair, a big old fancy lazy boy recliner thing. Any character sits down in there. As soon as they sit down, the dome starts opening up and the chair kind of leans back. First, you describe it. The dome slides slowly apart. The person begins seeing stars upon stars of their own world and stars and constellations not of their own world. Meanwhile, anyone that is not in the chair is going to start getting very, very cold, okay? Within the first round, you notice a temperature drop. Now, the original publication gives you information on penalties to give them. I would just say drop 1d6 cold damage on them pretty quick. Within a couple minutes after that, a couple seconds, the fourth round, the room loses most of its air supply. The party needs to make constitution saves or fall unconscious. By the sixth round, loose objects, including unconscious PCs, actually all PCs, start to drift towards the opening at a rate of 10 foot per round. Unless they find a way to stop themselves, they drift into airless space and eventually die. So yes, your party can get sucked straight out into the great vacuum of space. If you're using Spelljammer stuff, you can have some fun here. If you're not, have fun, reroll your characters. Once again, you're dealing with a top-level module, higher difficulty. It's not going to play fair. We're going to try to kill our players in every room. Almost every room has the potential for a lethal encounter. The Stairwell of Lost Souls, a small little room that forces your party to crawl across a living wall. Yeah, that's not fair. The Stasis Chambers, where the minor deaths are held. Now, this is the first true, quote-unquote, story chamber. Your party may or may not realize it when they get in here, but each of these rooms, the Stasis Chamber, frozen in place, has a black-robed figure with skeletal hands. A lesser death, a.k.a. the Deck of Many Things death, the minor deaths, excuse me. They've been trapped in the mirrored chambers. It's a permanent temporal stasis spell upon the creature inside of it. Any creature who enters the chamber is automatically frozen in place with no saving throw. The stasis can first be broken by breaking all the mirrors in the chamber, then casting a dispel magic spell. The party's got to figure out how to do that. We're playing hard, we're playing rough, we're playing mean here. Party walks into that room, they're trapped in the temporal stasis with the death. So your party's got to figure out how to break the mirrors without going into the chamber. So each one is got a lot of information talking about the fight with the minor deaths. The laboratory has 3 exits, all sorts of locks, lots of potions in here. And she's going to know if anyone steals her potions. A little bit of a role-play encounter in Area KL. Okay, let's get to the second level. It's just on and on. I was going to talk about the Godzilla fight. I'll leave that for you guys to discover on your own. But yes, one of the alternate realities. Okay, we're in the alternate realities of the F series now. So we figured out, your party somewhere along the line figured out how to access areas F1 through F4. They figured out the series of knocks. They knock on the door, they get in. The library is what it is. Aerial servants in here, secret doors to the top shelf, magical tomes, lots of stuff. Spell scrolls, augmentations to spells, commands. The library of Baba Yaga. Lots of stuff in here. A few little things as far as traps. I'll let you guys discover those on your own. Lots of glyphs of warning, stuff like that. Things like that will hit you. The art gallery has a mirror of life trapping hidden behind a wall. Statues of themselves in the art gallery. The statues look exactly like gargoyles, treated with permanent fairy fire that glow with lights between blue and violet. Purple gargoyles. If anything happens, the gargoyles can go attack mode. And then you have the alternate reality Tokyo. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this one. This is actually pretty fun. When your party goes through the door to G to F, they either go through the door back to B and they get lost, or they continue through to G or G1 to F2 from here. They step out. They're floating in the air on a doorway, and they see, it looks like a miniature scene of a futuristic city in front of them. Little metal beetles driving around, shooting at this big, gigantic reptilian that's tromping through the city, destroying the buildings. Thousands of little people fleeing around behind them. They could turn around, close the door, go back, and nothing happens. If they step down, the portals close, and they have to kill the Godzilla monster to open up the portal to get out. So, besides sounding fun, the second thing to keep in mind is this is a reality. This is an alternate reality. When your party's running around in here stomping on everything, they're killing hundreds of tiny little half-inch to inch-sized people. The alternative reality Tokyo army's fighting against them. So it almost turns like you're Mega Man and a whole freaking Pacific Rim type of a thing going on. Party in armor and magic versus kaiju. Fun thing to play out. Definitely something that you're going to have to remap. This map is not functional for what you'll need, especially if you plan on having environmental effects, casualties and all that kind of stuff, civilian deaths. But again, like I said, at the risk of doing too much on each room, which you can continue doing forever and ever, you got the Escher stair puzzle. That's not even fair, not even right. A nice hidden orchard, stables with nightmares, and Baba Yaga's personal bedroom lies in here. Her treasure vaults, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're getting towards about as long. We're actually going a little bit longer than I wanted to run. The main thing, like I said, I just want to close out a little bit the last of it. There's a lot that goes on in this dungeon. One thing that you have to remember is preparation. Every one of the rooms, every one of the areas is potentially considered its own quasi-dimension. Some of them are small and simple. Even the most simplistic of them have some nuances to them that can trip your party up. There's a lot of things going on in each room that you can very easily give away or doom your party to failure if you don't put the right emphasis on what you're describing to the room as far as what they see and what they should see, what they feel, what they smell. You're going to need to lean into it, into the prep. But yeah, overall, just kind of in closing out, I think the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga is an outstanding module. It is not for inexperienced dungeon masters. It is not for inexperienced players. There's nothing. If you get anything else out of this review, I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just trying to be completely honest with you. The difficulty in both preparing and administering this module is very thick and very heavy on a dungeon master. You've got to know 3 to 5 rooms upside down, left and right, and how they're going to interact and how they lead to the next 3 to 5 rooms at any point in time. The plus side is the party's movement through the Tesseract, at least initially, is limited. So you don't have to have Area P prepared on the first day. But note that Area P is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 encounters away. So even though alphabetically it seems like it's way down the line, no, that's 6 encounter rooms, potentially for your party to get there. A to C to D to H to I to O to P. Okay? So it is a little bit controlled, but not enough for you to just go, I'll wing it. If you wing it, you're going to give away secrets. You're going to make this the easiest dungeon in the world, or you're going to make this the hardest dungeon in the world because you didn't give your party a fair shake, because you didn't understand you didn't do a good job of paraphrasing the information where your party can act on it. You got to do a lot of reading on this one, man. You got to do a lot of preparation. The combat, it's surprisingly not that combat heavy. Out of the 37 rooms, I'd say probably 15 of them are forced combat, and maybe another 5 of them are possible combat. So it's maybe half of it's going to be combat-related puzzles, but every room has the potential to have some sort of lethal effect or debilitating effect on your party as well. Stat blocks will not translate. Well, they translate just as well as any 1E, 2E stat block does. Most of the monsters you need, you'll be able to find within the homebrew section on D&D Beyond, or make slight adjustments to existing 5th edition stat blocks if you're not a D&D Beyond user, and make it work for what you need to do. Treasure, that's up to you. There's a lot of good treasure given in here. Baba Yaga herself. Let me close out with that. I said I was going to close, but just so we see the power creep that we're dealing with back in the day. Godlike intelligence, armor class of -4 would put her at an armor class of 24 in 5e rules. She's going to be AC 24, standard movement of 30 feet. Hit points of 150 are entirely too low as listed. She's a 30,000 XP value, which puts her up in the level 25 range. 25 D8s would be 150, 160 plus. She'd be sitting at a flat 200 before her Constitution bonus. Constitution bonus of 22 would give her +6 on each of her hit die. So she's sitting at 200 plus 6 times 25 is 140. 340 hit points, give or take, would be her 5E hit block number as translated. A FACO of 3 is equivalent to a +12, technically a +17 to hit. I would probably put it at like +15, maybe +12, but she's almost a guaranteed hit each turn. Her damage lines up just fine. It's all of her special abilities that really, really, really stack up. She's immune to non-magical damage. She's immune to metallic weapons when she's within her hut. They pass straight through her. She's immune to poison, fire, and cold, and she has a bunch of spell immunities. Plus, she has a magic resistance, which would basically be double advantage. You can't do double advantage. Legendary resistances plus advantage on all of her saves. That's the easiest way to translate, that high of a magic resist. Okay. So what can she do? A bunch of special abilities. These are going to be translatable to 5th edition here. She has a fear aura, similar to Dragon Fright aura, except for rather than causing them to flee in panic, they fall to their knees in front of her and beg her for mercy. Okay? If they are caught in that pose, Baba Yaga can either choose to grant it by giving them a Gia spell, or take advantage of their kneeling condition and smack the hell out of them. -6 penalty on the save against the Geas due to the fear. Deviation from the Geas will cause 1d6 points of intelligence until the task is resumed or the person becomes insane. Um, she regenerates 3 hit points per round, which would be 10 hit points in 5e numbers, regardless of what causes the wound. Now, here's the fun part. She can regenerate damage from weapons, fire, acid, or disease. If her head or one of her limbs is severed, the severed member floats nearby and continues to fight or cast spells until it gets an opportunity to rejoin the body. The time needed for the head to or limb to reattach itself is determined by the hit point dealt by the blow. So if this is talking about Vorpal sharpness, Vorpal blades, swords of sharpness aren't a big thing in 5th edition. If you're still using them, she's immune to the effects. She's going to regenerate right through it. You're going to cut her head off. It's going to float around in the air, cussing at you as she continues casting spells at you. Terrifying. She does have some psionic abilities. If you're using psionics, normal vision, infravision. She has an enhanced sense of smell, and she can feed upon those who have died within her presence. If someone is dead, as in counting down to -10 in 1e, or working on death saves in 5e, or fully dead within 10 rounds after their passing. So she got 13 rounds to go munch on your butt. 10 rounds after you fail your save or while you're saved. The victim must save versus death magic, which I guess would be intelligence or constitution. Either or, make that choice yourself. I would probably go with intelligence because it's death magic. You'd be fine going with constitution as well. With a -6 on the roll, or disadvantage if you're feeling really mean. And the spirit is utterly destroyed. The victim cannot be raised from the dead, resurrected, reincarnated, or wished. And Baba Yaga returns to full hit points. Okay. In addition to all of her, what we talked about in her immunities, immune to magical weapons while she's in her hut, she cannot be harmed by weapons made of metal. All metal weapons, magical and normal, pass harmlessly through her. When she's outside, she loses this ability. She gains a +4 bonus to her saving throw. Gosh, wow. And she's immune to chaos, charm person, charm monster, command, confusion, emotion, fear, feeble mind, forget, friends, fumble, hold monster, hold person, hypnotism, magic jar, quest, rave, enfeeblement, scare, and suggestion. Huge list of immunities on top of that. She's immune to any illusion spell, any spell of the illusion class that's a below 7th level. She cannot be killed by poison, and she has extra saving throws against disease, poison, stuff like that. So on and so forth, man. And then she's got the casting abilities of a 25th level wizard, which does not exist in 5th edition. Go ahead and use Archmage, and go ahead and take Archmage and mix it with your highest level cleric stat block that you can find. I'm not talking stat block, I'm talking abilities. Take all those abilities and all those and add them to her stat block as it exists. Plus, she has thief abilities as far as moving around quietly, detect noise, read languages, hide in shadows, find and remove traps. She has whatever magic items she wants, and whatever her cauldron of flying, Baba Yaga's cauldron, Baba Yaga's broom exists as epic map. So, I almost did a bad. We almost talked about Baba Yaga's hut for 40 minutes and didn't even talk about her. She hypothetically is a killable NPC in this. But you are on her home turf. Your player should never have anything going their way. If you're going to stat block Baba Yaga, yeah, you got to go through the roof with it, man. She is beyond space and time. And a party of level 20s should be challenged fighting her. She's got so many immunities, so many resistances, such a hit point pool. Yeah, she's, nigh impossible to kill for a reason. So, like I said, the suggestions I was making on her stat block is mostly suggestions. Honestly, yeah, she should be a mother bear to fight. She should be difficult. If you're wanting to go homebrew happy as a dungeon master, make the nigh unkillable creature, Baba Yaga's hut and Baba Yaga's actual listed stat block is a pretty good place to start. Okay, again, 2nd edition, a lot of math translated to 5th edition, but it can be done. So anyway, there we go. Sorry about that. In closing, officially in closing this time, great adventure, lot of work to do, lot of preparation to do, not for the meek of heart, not for the unprepared DM. You could let me paraphrase that. You could run anything however you want to do. But are you really honoring the source material? Are you really doing a good job of it if you have to throw half of it away because you really didn't prepare well? But make it your own. At the same time, if something doesn't sound fun, if you know that your party's going to be utterly screwed in there, or if, that's kind of cool, I have a better idea, then do it. That's a plus side about a dungeon design like this. As it is a collection of 37 potentially 37 trans-dimensional, interdimensional spaces, you can substitute your own little ones in there for that. You can make up, if you have a couple puzzles that are sitting around and one or two of these of the rooms within the hut don't jump out at you, substitute something else in there for it. You're not obligated to follow any sort of lore. You're not obligated to any particular setting when you use this module. As a matter of fact, it was made setting pure, setting agnostic. It sits on its own as far as impacting your world. Therein, as in, you can use some of the information here to kind of add big effects to your campaign world and potentially adjust and disrupt your story, or you can ignore them, make them localized within the hut to add more of a wow factor here. A lot of what you need to worry about, a lot of what you might be looking at is completely up to you. The only thing that I'm going to say is not up to you, and it is, but it's going to affect, is the preparation. There's a lot of information to understand in this. It is well written in regards to the other S-series modules, but as is the case with very big convoluted rooms, what you need to know to run it is typically in the latter half of the room. What you're telling the party in the front half is everything that they can see and how it impacts. You gotta set up your own descriptions for the rooms. You're gonna have to, if you're a VTT user, you're gonna have to set up and make your own maps for each section. Not hard. This is actually much easier. Every room is a self-contained chamber. So, yeah, highly recommend the module if you're willing to put the work in. Can't recommend it if you're wanting to run it as is. If you just want to pick it up, pick the PDF off and read it off to your players as you go through it, it's not going to have a good flow. You're not going to have a good time. They're not going to have a good time. There's just a lot of moving parts that you need to be aware of. But yes, by and large, when you're ready for the challenge, I would strongly recommend picking up the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga, unofficially labeled S5. I picked up my copy on DM's Guild. Firm believer in purchasing products. Support your content creators. I'm one here. Check us out on Etsy. Check us out on Facebook and Patreon if you want to help us out. All the links are down here on the bottom of the YouTube channel. But yeah, man, pick it up. Have some fun with it. However you source your stuff, pick it up. Do some prep on it. Talk about a chicken hut walking through the woods. Watch your players' eyes go, and then prepare for a hell of a ride, man. Some weird, wicked, twisted, strange puzzles and rooms that exist within the Dancing Hut, wrapped around in a very, very, very powerful figure, with the potential to go overboard on your home brewing to create her stat block. But hey, DMGeezerjim, gonna finish up now. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you checking it out. If you'd enjoyed it, like, follow, do all the subscribe stuff, all that kind of stuff. Feel free to share it if you know if you're not necessarily a dungeon master, or you know people that might enjoy it, feel free to share my stuff with them, man. I'm just trying to spread the love. And obviously comments, love to hear some comments, love to hear some feedback so we can keep on, build up some more and certainly engage with you guys out there. But y'all be safe. Thank you for your time. Take care.